It's that time of year when I put together my annual gear update video. So in this one, I'm going to share with all of you some of the gear that I've been using out on the trail for all of 2024. Hey everyone, Knowledge here with Reach Your Summit. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm currently out on a 3-day, 2-night trip, enjoying some of the fall foliage here in New England, and I thought this would be a great time to just go over some of the gear that I have here with me, but also some of the gear that I've been using out on the trail for 2024. This year has been a very wild one, very wet, very windy. Lots of varying conditions that I've put a lot of this gear out in. And I've brought out a lot of old favorites, but I also picked up quite a few new pieces of gear. So I'm going to go over a little bit of all of that with you. This video is going to just briefly go over some of that gear, and some of the gear that I do go over is going to also have more detailed videos on this channel. So I'll put links in the description for this video so you can check out any of those videos whenever you'd like. So let's kick things off with shelters, since I have one right here. This is the Meadowphysics Abode, and I actually used this tent quite a bit this year, more than I thought that I would. I really love the simple design of it. No doors, there's no floor, crawl in and out of the bottom. A very simple, minimal shelter. I actually refer to this as my glorified tarp, because it is basically that. You have a traditional half pyramid style design, similar to how you would pitch a flat tarp, but it also has bug mesh sewn in around the perimeter of the shelter, so you get that good bug protection, along with having a good amount of protection from the elements. This isn't going to be a shelter for everyone. I'm the type of hiker that likes hiking all day and just setting up camp when I'm out on my own to get a little bit of rest and recovery. If you prefer spending a little bit more time in camp, this might not be the right shelter for you. At 5'10", I have plenty of room for myself and all of my gear in here. But if I were a little bit taller, say maybe pushing around 6 feet, that would be the max that I would want to be inside of this tent to avoid touching the walls of the tent. I have about 26 nights with the shelter so far. Very simple to set up. You can use a trekking pole and tent stakes, or you can use a stick and sticks for staking out the tent. I've used both. I love being able to switch out the floor to whatever I prefer, and if the floor rips, I can just very easily replace it. Also with the Abode, I love that if it's really buggy out and I'm taking a quick break, I can just drape it over me while I'm having a snack, or I can very quickly pitch the shelter and not have it take away from too much of my hiking time throughout the day. Sheds wind really well, it's shed rain really well, and I've stayed dry in this shelter. You do need to be a little bit more careful with your campsite selection, so it is going to be very similar to if using a tarp. This is something that I probably wouldn't use if I was going to be expecting frequent heavy rainstorms. I don't want to be crawling in and out through very harsh, muddy conditions. If I have infrequent rain that I'm going to be experiencing and I just want a little bit of bug protection, this is going to be a great shelter. No issues with durability. Everything's been holding up really well. Great craftsmanship. Really happy to have this shelter in the rotation of my gear that I use. I use this shelter on the North-South Trail, the Mid-State Trail, the Long Trail in Vermont, up in the Whites in New Hampshire, and I used it along parts of the Appalachian Trail. Really been enjoying it, and I look forward to many more nights with this shelter. Along with the Abode, I was able to get out quite a bit this year with my favorite shelter system, which is a traditional flat tarp. been continuing to use my 7x9 Zpacks tarp, and I use that a lot up in Vermont, in New Hampshire, around southern New England. I love the simplicity that a tarp offers, but also the versatility, and I love being able to just see everything around me with using a tarp. Viewing is a little bit more limited with this specific shelter, though you do get a great amount of viewing still compared to a traditional tent, just because this is a lot more open. You don't have any vestibules or doors getting in the way of having that ability when you're inside of the tent. And along with this shelter and the flat tarp, I've also been using the Zpacks Plex Solo a lot this year. Times when it was very heavy downpours, frequent days of heavy downpours. I also used it on my Cape Cod backpacking trip. The Plex Solo is one of my favorite tents as far as a tent goes. I picked one up when it was first released, and I liked that tent so much that I ended up upgrading it a little bit, if you will. The tent that I had owned was white. I wanted something that would work a little bit more in dispersed camping situations on trails where it was allowed. So I upgraded to a spruce green Plex Solo, which I've been using throughout this year. Fantastic tent, has withstood heavy rains, been out in snowstorms with it. Very spacious, very simple to set up. A little bit more anchoring with extra guy lines and a little bit more room inside. I love that I can set this up with a single trekking pole or a single stick, because most of the time I'm not using trekking poles at all. No issues with durability with this tent or the slightly lighter and thinner white Plex Solo tent. And I look forward to continuing to use my Plex Solo along with the Abode and the flat tarp on all of my future trips. Down at the bottom here, I have my Enlightened Equipment Enigma 30-degree quilt. This has been my go-to for many years now, but one new piece of gear that I picked up this year was the Zpacks Solo quilt, another 30-degree quilt. And I used that from late spring just up until a few weeks ago with early fall. And that quilt was fantastic. Very, very light. I think it weighs around 12.5 ounces. Very warm, very thin material that they're using, so need to be a little bit more careful with that. I love how small it packed down, and it kept me very comfortable up in Vermont and New Hampshire, in Maine, southern New England. I ended up picking that one up from Zpacks bargain bin on their website, so I went with the regular wide, a little bit wider than my Enlightened Equipment quilts, but a great quilt, and I look forward to using that in warmer conditions and on trips where I want to go as light as possible but still have a good amount of warmth, and go with a smaller packable quilt. But now I'm back to using my Enlightened Equipment Enigma with the cooler temperatures. My sleeping pad for this trip is just a very thin Gossamer Gear Thinlight pad. This I use on its own on trails and in locations where I know I'm going to have some soft ground that'll work well with it, and when the conditions around outside also allow for that. But if I'm not using that pad on its own, then I've been using the Thermarest NeoAir Xlite NXT, which I featured in last year's gear update video. So I've been adding some additional nights onto that pad, but I also went back to using the Thermarest Uberlite quite a bit this year, just for lighter weight, more packability, and I sleep really warm, so I found that pad to work just as well as the Xlite throughout most of the year. In conditions where it was a bit cooler, I would go back to the Xlite, but those two Thermarest pads have been fantastic for me. I haven't had any issues with durability. Had several nights in each of them now, and they're just the most comfortable for me. So I look forward to continuing to use those pads in conjunction with the Gossamer Gear Thinlight, or using the Thinlight on its own and using the other two pads on their own, depending on my goals and objectives and the type of trip. Also on this trip, my pack is the Palante Ultralight. That should be no surprise. If any of you have seen my videos, if you've seen me out on the trail, if you've followed me over the years, you know that Palante makes some of my favorite packs. They just suit my hiking style really well. I find them to be very comfortable. I love the simplicity of them and the aesthetics. I'm not going to go into that pack just because I already have a video going over a comparison between that pack and all of my other Palante packs. So I'll put a link in the description for this video so you can check that out anytime you'd like. The one Palante pack that I did pick up earlier this year that I've been using is the Palante Mini Joey. That pack's been fantastic, very comfortable. I love that I have a mini version of one of my favorite packs, the regular Joey. But the Mini Joey I've used on quite a few day hikes. I brought it out on some trail cleanup events that I was a part of. I brought it up to Maine when my partner and I went camping together in Acadia National Park. So when her and I went out on hikes and explored the island, I used that as my pack. But I also was able to get out a couple of times and use the Mini Joey as my pack for some really mild overnights. When I was able to really dial things in and bring the bare minimum, the pack continues to work really well, very durable. The Ultra 100 fabric that I chose for that pack has been highly water resistant, and I'm looking forward to continuing to put mileage on that pack, and I'm happy that I have that in my gear rotation for my backpacks. Along with the Palante packs, I also got out quite a bit with my Nashville pack Cutaway. I'm up to about 330 miles with that pack now. That's a very different pack from the Palante packs. A little bit more feature rich, a little bit more as far as pocket access goes. Sits down a little bit lower, it's a little bit wider, more barrel shaped than a lot of my Palantes. Been really happy with using packs from both, and I was happy to get more mileage in with the Cutaway this year. And one other pack that I picked up this year was another Cutaway. Nashville pack ended up releasing a new fabric option for the body of the pack known as Aluula Graflyte. So I had to pick one of those up. That fabric is very highly water resistant, very highly abrasion resistant, uses a different bonding process than Ultra Weave and Dyneema composite fabrics. Has a really neat look to it. Fabric is made in Canada, but the packs are still built in Tennessee. And I was able to get out on a couple of backpacking trips with the fabric. I've really been liking it so far. My usage is going to be a bit more minimal than any of my Palante packs for sure, but I'm excited to see how this new fabric continues to perform, how well it holds up. But overall, it's a really neat fabric, and I'm looking forward to using it quite a bit more, and I will report back on how that's been working for me. Some of the smaller items that I've been using this year, I picked up a Flextail Zero Pump. Is it a necessary piece of gear? Not really. Is it a fun piece of gear and nice to have? It can be. It's not something that I'm going to use all of the time, but I do like the efficiency of it. It is pretty light and it's nice and small and packable. I find the pump to be fairly quiet. Battery life is pretty good with it. I used it quite a few times just to see how well it would work on my Thermarest Uberlite and my Xlite and XT. And it takes about 50 seconds to 1 minute to inflate the Uberlite and the Xlite pads. Also brought it up to Acadia National Park, and my partner and I inflated our queen size mattress with it, and it took about 10 minutes to inflate that queen size mattress. It's a nice little gadget. It's one that I'll bring out with me on certain occasions, but not one that I will use all of the time. Another item that I picked up this year is the CNOC Vesica 1 liter soft water bottle. This has been great, pretty durable. I haven't had any issues with leaks yet or any punctures. The bottle reminds me of the soft bottle that comes with the Katadyn Be Free, but what's nice about this is this one has the 28mm thread and the small opening. So I've been using this with my Sawyer Micro this year. and also the Platypus Quick Draw. I love that I can pack this down when I'm not using it. It's also very easy to filter my water into my hard water bottles, like the Essentia bottle that I have over there. I don't have to slightly unscrew the filter to let air back in, like I would if I were using one of those bottles. Stands up on its own, and not too significant of a weight increase compared to one of the other bottles. Also a little more environmentally friendly, though I do just keep reusing my single water bottle that I buy from the grocery store. But this has been really nice. I've been surprised with it and really happy with it over the course of this year. The other small item that I picked up this year is the Nitecore NU20 Classic. For this trip, I'm using my RovyVon Aurora A5X. I just really love this flashlight. And I have a video going over this newer generation and the previous generation, so you can check that out whenever you'd like. But going back to the Nitecore NU20 Classic, have been using that out on the trail quite a bit too, and it's a nice upgrade, especially compared to the Nitecore NU25 UL. I was not happy with that headlamp. Feel like it took a lot away from what had been one of my favorite headlamps over the years, the Nitecore NU25. So I've been really happy with the NU20 Classic so far. Very bright, long-lasting battery. I love the USB-C recharging capability. I love that the low lumen light settings are back. I really like the battery gauge up at the top, and it's been a great little headlamp. I've also been using my RovyVon flashlights quite a bit, alternating between these and the Nitecore headlamps. Both been fantastic light sources out on the trail. So it's also no surprise that I've been wearing Altra throughout most of this year. The Lone Peaks have been my go-to for many years, and I continue to wear them. I have them on for this trip, the Lone Peak 8s. And I'm sitting at around 348 miles with the pair that I have on right now. Just a great shoe, a little bit closer to the Lone Peak 6, which has been one of my favorite iterations of the shoe over the years. The Lone Peak 7 is a little bit of a hit and also a miss for me. So I was really happy to see the Lone Peak 8 kind of taking some of the things I liked with the Lone Peak 7, but also going back in a way and drawing influence from the Lone Peak 6 and some of the things that I really liked with that shoe. Shoe's very comfortable, has good traction, breathes really well, dries fast, just the right amount of cushion for me. Overall, just a great shoe. 348 miles on this pair. My other pair, I ended up getting about 527 miles with them. And then they started packing out a little bit more and started feeling a little bit uncomfortable. So I went with the other pair that I bought. Another shoe that I was really surprised with this year was the Altra Timp 5. Really been enjoying that shoe. I have 296 miles with it so far. I had some water crossings up in New Hampshire this year when I was wearing them. And I found these shoes to dry pretty fast within just a couple of hours after being fully submerged in the water. Traction is fantastic on wet rock and roots and slick terrain. Far better than the Lone Peak, just with having that Vibram Mega Grip outsole. And the slight increase in cushion is really nice for high mileage days. Been really happy with the shoe. So much that I ended up picking up a pair of the Altra Timp 5 Mid Gore-Tex. Haven't worn them yet. I'm going to be wearing them once winter comes around. I got them specifically for that. I am still going to be wearing the Olympus 5 mids that I have, and I have a video of on this channel, but a majority of the time that's a little bit too much cushion for me. At least these days it's too much cushion for me. I prefer having a little bit more ground feel. So that's why I ended up picking up the Timps after I was really happy with the non-waterproof shoe. And I'm excited to see how these Timp mids perform and hold up this year. The Olympus 6 sadly, it just wasn't for me. The heel padding, I just couldn't come around to. I ended up taking the shoe out on some trail runs and a couple of backpacking trips just to really give it an honest chance, but the heel padding just didn't work for my foot, and the overall stack height of the shoe was just becoming too much for me, taking away from that ground feel that I really enjoy. Some of my other videos in the past, I was really excited about the Altra Olympus. Things change here and there, and that's one of the changes for me and my personal hiking style. It's not to say that it's not a great shoe, and it's not to say that it might not be the right shoe for you. Footwear is going to be one of the most subjective things as far as gear goes for all of us hikers out there. Another pair of Altras that I bought this year that I was really excited about was the Altra King MT2. Shoe was re-released and quickly becoming one of my favorites, along with my standard go-to, the Lone Peak. I really love the shoe because of that ground feel. It has the Vibram Mega Grip that the Lone Peak does not have, so I get really good traction, sheds mud really well, the shoe dries really fast, very comfortable, a little bit more minimal than the Lone Peak, and I'm looking forward to using that shoe a lot more. I know the shoe was built more for obstacle course racing and trail running, but I love the minimal feel of it, so I'm going to keep using it for backpacking. And with the King MT2, I'm sitting at around 143 miles so far. Looking forward to getting many more with the shoe, and I'm really happy that Altra brought it back. And every year, I always tell myself, I'm going to try using Sandals backpacking just a little bit. So this year, I picked up a pair of Bedrock Cairn Evo 3D sandals. A little bit more of a minimal stack height than the King MT2. The King MT2 is 19 millimeter, and these sandals are 14 millimeter. And I've really been enjoying wearing those too. Love that my feet can breathe really well, dry very fast, obviously, because it's a sandal. I feel very secure in them. With the sandals, I am very aware of where I'm stepping, and I really like that. It makes me feel a little bit more connected in my surroundings and out on the trails that I'm on. I wore them on a recent fall backpacking trip, on a couple of other backpacking trips over the summer. Wore them up in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, wore them up in Vermont, wore them out on the New England Trail. They've just been a lot of fun to wear. A couple of things I really liked about the Bedrocks, aside from the lower stack height, it has a Vibram outsole, so traction is excellent on mud and wet rock. And they also have a 3-point adjustment system to get a really dialed-in fit. I also like their resole program. From what I've read, looks fantastic, and I hope to get many miles out of my Bedrocks to the point where I end up needing to use that resole program. I'm sitting at around 126 miles with them so far, and looking forward to putting more miles on those as well. Now for clothing. These started out as an April Fool's joke, and they became a reality. They're a little ridiculous looking, but super comfortable, and I've really been enjoying them this year. These are the Enlightened Equipment Torts, or Torrid shorts. I've been bringing these out as part of my sleep system, but also to wear around camp, just so I can get a little bit of extra warmth, but not overheat. These give me just that right amount of warmth on cool nights where I'm comfortable. I believe they weigh about 2.5 ounces. They're made out of the same synthetic insulation that the Torrid jacket is made out of that I own and wear throughout the year. It was a limited run that they did with these, so I don't think they're available anymore. So I'm going to cherish these. Looking forward to using these in the winter time too. 2 other pieces to my sleep system around camp have been some Alpha Direct 60 socks. Very warm, nice and light. They breathe really well. And then my Alpha Direct 60 hat. This beanie is nice and light, good coverage, and it keeps me really warm. I wear this around camp. I also wear it to sleep in. And I picked up a new rain jacket this year. This is the Enlightened Equipment Visp. I went with a medium, and this fits really nicely over my medium torrid jacket. Really nice mechanical ventilation with the armpit vents that are zippered. Nice hood. This is nice and light, breathes pretty well, and it's kept me really dry in heavy downpours. Been really happy with this jacket and looking forward to continuing to use this jacket for many years and seeing how well it holds up. For my shorts, I have the Palante shorts on here. This is the Ultra Stretch Mesh in black. And the shorts come in two different fabrics, woven nylon and a grid mesh. I own both, and I've been really happy with both of them. Grid mesh adds a little bit more water resistance and is similar to what can be currently found on a lot of the Palante packs pockets. I really love the shorts. I love how deep the pockets are, being able to stuff a bunch of things in there, and I love being able to fit so much in the pockets that I can end up packing a lot more of my gear in there and lower my base weight. I'm kidding. But those shorts do fit quite a bit inside of there. So it's nice to be able to put my snacks in there while I'm moving throughout the day and put anything in there and just have it quick and easy to get to. The shorts dry very fast. They're very comfortable. The shorts allow for a good range of movement. I've even found them really comfortable when I'm on my bike. And I'm looking forward to continuing to wear them for many, many, many more hiking miles. I also been wearing the Palante Alpha mock neck a little bit this year, though I've been still continuing to wear my Senshi fleeces a bit more. I did want to give that Alpha mock neck an honest try too. So I've been enjoying wearing that. It's very warm, no issues with durability, very comfortable, dries fast, breathes well, just with the characteristics of the Alpha. Alpha 90 I find to be a little bit warmer, so that's also why I hadn't been wearing it as much as my Senshis. Most of my Senshi fleeces that I have are Alpha 60, which works better for me spring through fall. Alpha 90 I wear in the winter time most of the time. And the last item that I have here are the Ombraz Sunglasses. These have been fantastic, very stable. I get great visibility with them, eye protection. I love this little microfiber cleaning cloth on the case, so I've been carrying the case with me on all of my hikes just to have it at the ready if I need to clean the lens. But these have been very comfortable, very durable, no issues with scratches or anything. Don't have to worry about the arms breaking like I would on traditional sunglasses. And the armless design of the Ombraz sunglasses works really well with a bike helmet too. Don't have any pressure points anywhere. And I look forward to continuing to use these for many, many miles as well. So there you have it. That's some of the gear, clothing, and footwear that I've been using throughout 2024. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you have any questions on anything that I went over in this video, please feel free to leave any questions in a comment below, or you can always contact me at any time at reachyoursummit.net. This is some of the stuff that I've been using this year. What are all of you using out on the trail? Love to hear what you're using, what's working for you, what's not working for you. Share that in a comment below as well. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please consider doing so. Always adding new content to it. I'm looking forward to sharing a lot more with all of you on this channel. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you're all out there enjoying the fall foliage, and until the next one, see you on the trail.